In 1968, student protest in the Tlatelolco section of Mexico City was ignited in response to the Summer Olympic Games, which were to be held 10 days following the protest. Protesters used the phrase, "No queremos Olimpiadas, queremos revolución," in response to the government's choice to host the games. My grandmother, who was pregnant with my father at the time, participated in these protests. What she didn't know, however, was that the protests would erupt into a violent display of government supremacy over the people, leading to a mass murder of which the number is still highly debated upon. Soon after, my grandmother gave birth to my father in June 1969. My father lived a hard life in Mexico City, with his father being a butcher and his mother staying home to take care of him, and, soon after, his 5 other brothers and sisters. Being one of the eldest, my father was sent to school, and after, worked on the streets, trying to make as much money as possible. This routine continued until he and his family moved to the city of Zacatecas in the early 70s. Once in Zacatecas, he continued his daily routine of going to school and working. In 1976, President López Portillo was elected to office. He would enact a plan of gaining much-needed restoration and wealth using the country's oil reserves. This restoration and wealth plan by López Portillo failed in both aspects and caused the economy in Mexico to plummet. My father remembers this being the hardest times for his family. Not only did he have 8 people in his family, the decline in the wealth of the peso caused prices to go up, and there were days he had to go with no food. Growing up, my father fell in love with American football, and especially the Los Angeles Raiders. He talks about having to walk about 10 miles to his sister's house every Sunday just to watch the games. He and his brothers found this to be one of their most memorable moments together, and agree that it was the Raiders that helped them through the toughest times. In 1988, along with the emergence of a new political power in Mexico City, the PAN, his father was murdered, and life became increasingly harder. He had to work multiple jobs to support his family, and also had to serve in the military for a year. 6 years later, after my father had finished his schooling to become a dentist, he immigrated to the U.S. He came with only a small bag and little to no money to his name. He continued his schooling in the U.S. and worked in a small dental office, which he used as a makeshift apartment. And in 2000, he got married and received his dental license. In 2001, my father began planning to open up his own office after several years of hard work. After the tragedy of 9/11, though, his plans were placed on hold as the economy began to grow increasingly worse due to the beginning of the war effort. As the war overseas began to settle down, my father managed to raise enough money to open up his office, and can now say that he is living the American dream.